wait a minute. Yeah. Okay. I know you guys thinking, what in all of God's great name is that woman doing? That is what I often get, but trust me, it all works together for your good. So with that, because I want to get right into this conversation, we've been chatting already as we do behind the scenes. I'm going to play some theme music. We're going to come back, get into this conversation. Let me do that. Hold on. It is afternoon, right? Yes, it is.
It is.
Yeah, I forget sometimes. Good afternoon, everybody. I am 𝐁𝐮𝐢𝐴 and your host. Welcome to Small Biz Bites. Man. Okay. So today, everything appears to be working well. That's a good thing because sometimes things go a little awry. So for those of you who are watching live, we are streaming live to Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube. If you're on YouTube, be great if you would like, share, and subscribe to this channel. That would be absolutely awesome. And for those of you who are going to watch in the replay, I'm inviting you to like, share, and subscribe. And before we get started, because again, we were already talking and I was like, wait a minute, hold on, save it. Let me get to some comments because of course my mother is here. Hello, mother. She's always here. We got Black Eighth Element, who is also in the building. I like how Gary comes in. Finally working right, huh? Yes, I know. Thank you, Gary. Appreciate that. Thank you all for being here. And again, for those of you who will be watching in the replay, we thank you for tuning in too. We would love to know where you are watching us. We would love to know that. But let me get into it because I love a good icebreaker. And this is one that myself and others have used many a time in the training world. It is 3 truths and 1 lie. So, Kathryn, as we'll explain who she is in a little bit, but we want to get into it. Kathryn, you are going to share with our crowd and with me 3 truths and then 1 falsehood. And I will be guessing, and crowd, feel free to guess as well, which one of these is not true. All right, Kathryn, give it to us, ma'am. Give it to us.
All right, I have to say, this was a tough one because I've had some crazy stuff go on. Okay, so I have 7 tattoos. I've been to 30 countries.
Okay.
I ride a motorcycle, and I spent 30 years rock climbing.
Okay, 7 tattoos. You've visited 30 countries. You ride a motorcycle or 30 years rock climbing. One of them is a lie. Okay. All right. Hold on. Let me see. And again, crowd, if you want to guess which one you believe is a lie, I'd like to know it. I'm going to say I can see you being a motorcycle person. I really can. I don't know. I just have this little feeling that it's the motorcycle. I can see that. Well, okay, wait, hold up. 30 countries, huh? 7 tattoos. You look like a tattoo person. I mean, I don't know. I mean, that is so. If that isn't offensive. You look like a tattoo person. I don't know. Okay, so I'm not gonna say, oh, Black Eighth Element says it's riding the motorcycle. Okay, so he doesn't believe that. Okay. I'm gonna go with 30 countries. I'm going with that.
Right, that's the lie. Yep.
All right, so you gotta explain these things. You have 7 tattoos.
I have 7 tattoos. Yep. Various parts here. You can see one that's right here.
Oh.
Most are on my back. And each one really kind of was inspired by something. So nobody's names, nobody's faces. I don't have my dogs on me anywhere, or my child either. I love her, but I told her I'll never put your face on me anywhere or your name.
Yeah. And okay, so Gary said that you've been to 29 countries. So how many have you been to?
I don't know. I don't know that I've ever counted. Maybe 10.
That's still a good number. That is still a good number.
Yeah.
There
to go to more. I don't think that counts though.
Yeah, I agree with you there. It's on my list as well. But you do ride a motorcycle?
Yes. I actually just sold my last motorcycle about 6 months ago.
Oh,
so
see,
I rode as a teenager, and then I spent the past probably 12 or 15 years riding as an adult. So
nice.
Yeah. Oh yeah, some awesome times.
And then lastly, 30 years rock climbing.
Yes. Yeah. You know, we all kind of seem to have that thing. And that was the thing for me. Once I was introduced to rock climbing, I was all about it. You know, I don't do group sports or team sports or anything. For me, I'm a kind of a solitary activity person. So running, bike riding, rock climbing, you know, it took a minimum of people. So, and it's a puzzle. So it's all about solving the problem. And that's the only thing you can focus on when you climb. You can't think about anything else. When you are illegally climbing a bridge somewhere, worrying about the police to come, you really can't focus on the police. You really have to focus on just doing the climbing.
That sounds like a story with some cocktails. Yes. That's what that sounds like. So let us do this. All right, Kathryn, who are you and what is your superpower?
Well, my name is Kathryn Dawe, and I've turned to myself in the past coach. I'm trained traditionally, but I definitely have broken outside of that mold, and really I focus on midlife professionals who are really wanting to transform their careers because they're stuck, they're bored, they're tired. And so I use some innovative and creative techniques and strategies, which I think are much needed right now, because the last thing people want is one more series of itemized list of things to do, because they're already task heavy. So that's what I really focus on, is not making it task oriented, even though it is strategic. So that's what I do. What else was I answering?
Your superpower?
My superpower, I believe, is it's a combination of I see truth. I'm extremely intuitive, and I am super strategic, so I can cut right through all the chaff and get right to the heart of the matter, whether you think you're hiding it or not. So, which is a big help when you really want to transform your life, your career, whatever that may be for you.
You know, I was thinking to myself, I remember some years ago in my former life that a dear colleague of mine, dear friend, had hit that wall in his career. And he started questioning, like, what's next? Where am I going? Why am I doing this? And I do believe that every single one of us, we go through that phase of now what, right?
Yes.
And depending on the generation that you're coming from, he and I came from you work at one place until the end of time or something close to it, and then you do something else, retire, I don't know, do something else. So he was hitting that wall of, I just feel like I'm stuck. I don't feel like I'm going anywhere. And I've had that feeling when I was doing that job. Maybe twice I thought, okay, so now what? Like, why am I Why am I getting out of bed every morning? I know I enjoy doing this, but I just don't have that same. Before we, because you know me and my rabbit holes.
I do.
When it goes down, and you know what? Because I'm also that person, I'm going to go ahead and say it. According to folklore, that's not really folklore, but truth. I do believe Kathryn is a Virgo. Are you not, ma'am?
I am.
Yes.
I admit to that.
So y'all already know how we do. Shout out to all the Virgos watching now and in the future. You know how we do. You want to get your life together. Who you talking to? A Virgo. Hello. Like, duh. But I'm sitting here thinking, in your experience, how many times have you seen this happen? And are there signs that kind of point to, I'm about to hit that wall?
Well, a lot of times, especially, and I'll direct this specifically at women as well, is that women tend to have blinders, selective blinders, when we've not just hit the wall, but we've bashed the wall about 70 times already. Because we want to always make sure that we've done our best and done everything. Do I need to change? Do I need to do something differently? Do I need to find a different job? You know, it's work somewhere else. When it and literally it comes with this one of the kind of not immediate but further down the road symptoms are physical symptoms. That's always when you start developing physical symptoms, you're already past having hit the wall. And you're trying to force yourself to do something that you already know that you don't want to do. Maybe you haven't even admitted to yourself yet. So boredom can be one. It can be temporary, and we, oftentimes we'll look for ways to kind of revive our energy. A lot of times that's temporary. I've done it myself. I was in and out of a career. I can't tell you how many times that was meant to be temporary. But it was the safest, and I allowed myself to be lured back almost into that safe environment, even though it wasn't the environment that I wanted. And so that's fairly common. And I'll tell you the most common justification for continuing is access to benefits like healthcare.
Yeah.
This is one of the biggest things that I hear, and it's always because you're already feeling physical symptoms, so you need the healthcare. You need the healthcare. So it's always okay. Well, what is the answer to that? And the answer is a lot deeper than just a specific external thing, because the answer does not lie there. It always is somewhere else, which is internal to you.
The current work environment, and we are seeing a number of companies that, despite creating record profits, are laying off people. And there are some people who, if I have to use my gut, it's a blessing and also it's a concern, because it's like,
sure,
didn't really like my job. I was kind of over my job, but the benefits, right? Like that, that's in the back of your head. Like, okay, so now what with that? But it's just that one thing. This could have changed some time ago, but we do get comfortable.
Yes.
Really comfortable. And I don't mind saying it, because I already left my job. I don't care. Didn't care when I was there either. But
and that's what happens, especially towards the end.
Yeah.
You don't care, and you don't like that you don't care.
Yeah, I mean, I got to a place, and Black Eighth Element knows, I was literally counting down. Like, I got 3 more years to go. I have 2 more years to go. They were like, you really shouldn't share that. It's like, I don't see why I shouldn't, because when it comes, I'm like, deuces. I loved my job, loved my career, hands down, loved what I did. I thoroughly enjoyed the people that I was doing it with, but I had hit that wall of boredom. Like, I was showing up, but didn't really want to show up. And keep in mind that 2020 happened, and we couldn't do the job I was doing from my dining room table.
Right.
So for me to get into my car and drive 50 miles round trip It's like, for what? I was hitting that. This has gone as long as it needs to go, and it's just time for me to move on because it's no longer serving me. Hey, before we forget, shout out to Dr. Tachi, who is in the building. Hello, ma'am. Hello to you. So let me get into the next question because I want to stay on this comfort, and I do believe a number of us, and I'm going to say it, a number of us in an older generation, because I believe it's a beautiful thing that this younger workforce, they understand, you know what, where I am is not serving me, so I'm going to leave this job and go to another place. I think that's great because there have been, when I look back, I am happy to have completed 25 years. There were more than 2 times when I was like, I'm going to walk out this building. Like, matter of fact, I walked out one time and called my mom. I said, Mom, I need like 2 Bible verses. I need 2. It is that bad today, right? So tell us about your company, K&D Training and Consulting, before we get back into this workforce change conversation.
Okay, well, I really focus on the mid-career professional who is really at that point. They've already hit the wall, or they're up against the wall, or they see the wall in front of them, and they are feeling the sacrifices that they've been making, and their value that they may not be feeling, and their sorry, I just totally lost my train. And their integrity that they feel like they're also sacrificing, and also their values. A big part of what we end up doing, I believe in what's called expiration dates. And the struggle comes when we ignore those expiration dates. So the longer we ignore those expiration dates, the bigger the struggle, and the more mired in the struggle we get, because we feel like we are sacrificing our values. We're sacrificing our freedom. We're sacrificing our family, maybe even, and we're sacrificing our truth and integrity. So it really comes down to a fact that our generation too we're taught that that's the way of work, that is the way of things. And this younger generation, I have a daughter who's 24. She has no problem going to leadership and saying, look, this is my value. I'm worth more. Well, our generation is not. She's a young woman too. So we were not taught that, and especially as women, we're now having to learn how to do that because it presents this fear. So really what I do is to literally help you wrap yourself in your courage through some experiential exercises, because we want long-term sustainable change for ourselves. And it's really being able to take control of your career without all of those sacrifices. Because sacrifice does not lead to joy. I'm sorry, but I don't believe it. And I know some of the things that I believe and I teach are against the mainstream. And that's one of the things that we've just been taught, that we have to sacrifice to have this life of joy. And it's not true. Absolutely not true.
Kathryn, this is why you and I connect on so many levels. As Black Eighth Element shares his LOL, he's fully aware of my foolishness. It was some foolishness. It was never out of pocket to where anyone was ever harmed. I always showed up and did my job completely.
Right.
But it was clear that it was past my time. That's
the nature of a Virgo too. The nature of a August is that we're willing to go ahead and show up and do our job and not underdo it as well. But that just makes it harder for us to then honor that expiration date and get the where out of there.
You're right. And it's interesting because I literally did have a date of when I was going to step away from this career. But even though I had a date, it was April 1st of 2023, believe it or not.
Oh, wow.
Of all the days, I had a date, but I had the date because somewhere in the back of my head, I still felt that I should prepare the future to take over. I felt like I should complete these documents and get things in order and set up for the next person. And just that feeling was there. And then there was a moment. And I was like, F that feeling. We ain't doing nothing.
Yes, absolutely. And that's the thing to literally honor that, as opposed to, letting your head judge you and shame you for, you really should help them out with this.
Right.
Why?
You really should. And I used to joke about this, and my former boss will tell you, but I meant it. I just felt like if I knew I was going to quit, or if you were going to relieve me of my job duties, let me know so I don't have to waste my time, gas, and money. I don't want to waste my time in traffic. I don't want to waste my gas coming out here. I can ship you this laptop.
Right.
It's just not that serious. Let me know so I can stay at home and do what I got to do. But we never came to that point. We did some other stuff because sometimes we're a little dramatic. So let me get into your story, because I want to know how you arrived at this moment in time. How did you get here?
We don't have quite enough time for that story. That'd take a couple, 2-3 days or so. But anyway, kind of briefly, I spent years as a single mother. I divorced my daughter's father when she was only 4. She's 24. And I ended up stuck in a career that was meant to be temporary. And that it was partly because of that situation. And not only that, is that I made a hard decision to not want to put my daughter in daycare. So I literally did everything I could to not have that happen. I had one child, I had one chance. I wanted to be the best working mother that I could be and not have to have her in daycare. So it was super challenging. But I made it through that, but literally it was by the skin of my teeth. I had so many expiration dates come and go, and in all of that sacrificing, I ended up in an abusive relationship, an emotionally abusive relationship that literally taught me the meaning of sacrificing myself. And and this is when the physical symptoms come. So it doesn't even have to just be career related. It's related to every area of our lives. Whether it's relationships have a lot to do with it, but it's also your relationship with your job and or career, your familial relationships, your community relationships, your relationship with money. It affects every single area. So the symptoms aren't singular. They are literally will be seen in every area of your life. So in my desire, and especially as a Virgo, as a seeker, I was constantly trying to find the answer. So I have more certifications and trainings than you could possibly imagine, because I was trying to find answers for myself. The biggest thing I learned is that you cannot create anything on top of your mess. The mess has got to be cleared before you can actually build something strong to begin with. So that's really what brought me here. It was all of my own searching and learning. And literally, I have a ridiculous number of certifications and all the stuff. And it was really the messiest area, the transition area. So I have some specialized coach training in transitions. It's that messy area that I find I thrive in for people, because I've been through some severe injuries that have had long-term recoveries. My house burnt down. It took a year for me to be back in my home with myself, my daughter, my young daughter, my friend and her daughter. I mean, literally, I could go on, but it was literally in my search for answers for myself that I came to where I am now. And my biggest challenge, other than that, even inside of that relationship, was me perpetually going back to that career that I did not want to be in. I had to force myself every day, as I say, put on that tattered old suit that doesn't fit anymore and shove myself in it and say, this is the last time. It's only one more day. It's only one more. I promise this is the last time. So that's how I ended up here where I am, because I know there's no way that I was the only one struggling with this. So, so now I get to help others release themselves, honor their expiration dates, and understand on the other side of the expiration date is all of the possibilities, the joy, the freedom, the lack of sacrifice that they want is on the other side of that.
Okay. Clearly the crowd is feeling what I am feeling. And I have this thing now where I just see t-shirts. We have to come back to that. Creating on top of mess, needing that solid foundation. I would love to dig into that one just a little bit more, because it speaks to, I can't help but look at our current work environment. And I believe wholeheartedly the way we work is no longer working.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
It's not.
I think the layoffs are a symptom of that. The layoffs or an attempt at reining in people. So where they were forced to offer these people this freedom, and now they want the control back. Right. So it's really and it's fear is the driver of all of that.
Girl,
fear is the driver of the us not being able to claim ourselves and our own freedom, and fear is what drives the companies to actually want to re-reign and gain control over you, because it's always been this power over, as opposed to the power with. So so that's really, it's a paradigm shift that's chaotic and challenging, but for those of us that have the ability and have the want to wrap ourselves in our courage, it's there for us right now.
Okay, hold on. We got so much going on here. Hey, first of all, shout out to David. How are you, sir? Shout out to David. He says all of your life is affected, and yes, building on the mess. Amparo, hello, afternoon to you, ma'am. Honor the expiration dates. And she says, I feel like I must stop procrastinating. Yes. This is like, we have a lot to pick up right here. I'm sitting here writing down notes. I don't think y'all understand. I'm writing down notes for myself as well. And then Gary says, yep, I have said that since the beginning. These layoffs are a market reset. Okay. We're taking a side journey, just real quick, y'all. Taking a side journey. 2020. They had to figure out we can't completely shut down. We have to make some money somewhere. And so that little half truth that you really can't do your job at home, for those of us who can. So keep that in mind. We know that there are different industries. Everybody can't work from home. But for those of us who can and did work from home, then it became, well, we want to, keep everybody safe, and we're here to create an environment and blah, blah, blah. And then the world opened up again, and people got a peek behind the curtain, and they were like, oh, wait a minute. I can now be home, cook dinner, and still have all of this time. I didn't know what to do with my time. I had so much time left. I was like, I'm not stuck in traffic. What? And I can read books again, and I could cook dinner and make a dessert. What? Wait,
you keep present, and that's really what it is. You get to be way more present. Absolutely.
Yeah. So my own private conversation was when we had to come back to the office. I was like, my team was in Florida. a good chunk in Houston, New Jersey, California. And then I had like a handful in the home office. And my whole thought was, why am I coming back? For what? Because I'm literally having meetings on Teams 95% of the day. Why I gotta drive in for that? Like, I don't understand. Like, it's not making sense to me.
Well, it's because really all these companies have all these buildings that they own or paying rent on.
Yes.
So what do they do with them now?
Yeah.
Because nobody's looking to actually, rent space anymore. But that's really a big part of what's driven that. The companies now need to figure out, okay, we have all this office space. What do we do with it? If we're not having people in there, then what do we do? So that's, but it's part of that kind of lassoing of trying to regain a portion of the control that they had previously. But again, it's all the pushback against the paradigm change, and that's always happens. It will always happen. And always driven by fear. So, and if they can tap into the employees' fear, that's what brings them back.
Yes,
more present for yourself, more present for your family. I mean, you get to be literally more present because you have not been in a different environment all day, other than literally you've had your virtual meeting. So you're really, but you get to stay connected to your environment. So literally, if you have, say, a spouse that has been working outside the home, they come home, you literally have already been there. So you're present in your home environment. So it's very different than imagine how you feel when you both have come home from somewhere, from work. You're like, oh, thank God I'm home. Kind of teach you how much time to de-stress, unwind, and then to actually be present with each other and not have the coattails flying from where you just came from.
I wrote a blog post because I have a butterfly garden, but the butterfly bushes finally gave way. I had to take them out. But I was working in this garden during 2020, and I love cacti, right? And so as I'm taking the time to get these weeds out, I'm just moving, not really present, not really paying attention. I'm just moving. And my hand got too close to the cacti, and it's gonna let you know, hey, you're too close. And it hit me. A lot of people, in my opinion, up until 2020, were just operating on auto, just moving, not really present, not really giving the time and space you're in the attention, and all of you were just moving. And you need a little prick, right? I.e., 2020. You need a prick kick in the throat that says, hey, wake up. Look around you. Look what's going on with your life right now, and ask yourself, do you want to stay on this path, or do you want to change the path? Now, some of us decide we're going to change. And there are still people who talk about the fear, right? Because they had the whole, great walking away. What was it called? I can't remember what was it called? I can't think of it.
Quiet quitting thing, that thing, it was quiet, the Great Resignation or something.
The Great Resignation. Yes. Thank you, ma'am. Yes. There was a mass of people who were like, we're not going to do it. But there were also a number of people waiting for you're going to come back. Yeah. You have to come back.
And that's okay. If that side is good for you. However, it's a shame that we think that we only have two choices. It's not, I have to quit and have to go, like us, create a job create a business for ourselves. It's either I quit or I stay where I don't want to be.
Right.
And that literally, that's not true. We're taught to believe that that's so, but it's not actually. So part of what I take my clients through too is this isn't about quitting your job or about having to create your own business. If that's what you want to do, absolutely, we get into that. But it's also about recognizing the value of your experience and your expertise and other ways to leverage and utilize that. And literally, it can be even about you creating a position for yourself. Sure, your own company might not bite, but there might be plenty of other companies that will bite for that. Because it's a lot easier for you to create your job position and fit the company to that. Not you we're taught to fit ourselves into some company's job description. Okay, well, I can kind of squeeze into that and I can squeeze over here. And sooner or later, you're like, this isn't even me, but I've squeezed myself into their guidelines. And again, we think that's our only choice, and that's absolutely not true.
The one thing I'm happy about for this younger generation specifically is they are learning at a very young age. You have options.
Yes.
I remember it was you go to school, you go to college, you wait for somebody to choose you, to marry you, and then you lose half yourself, raise a family. All you're like, hey, if that's your program, great for you. Some of us didn't want that program, never wanted that program. And some of us, like, we are so gifted. The idea of only using one of your gifts at this point doesn't make sense anymore. Now, everybody cannot be an entrepreneur. Hear me clearly. It's not
sure, absolutely.
Everyone. And I said it all the time, entrepreneurship is a career choice, okay? So if you choose that career, it is still like, you still got to work all the career, like you still have to work through that. It's not for everybody. That's fine. However, you can still find a place, as you say, that values your gifts and works the way that you want to work.
Well, and you have to value them first. You have to really be able to own and recognize your expertise. Your experience is valuable, and that there's more than one way to utilize and leverage it.
More present for those who want to control. Well, I mean, now I have to say it. I'm not in the normal circles anymore. I'm not there. But it doesn't mean that my life is easier. By no means, it is by no means easier. But I do have to wonder, for those who want to attempt to put the genie back in the bottle, and that's what this is. There is an attempt to put the genie back in the bottle. Give me your bold prediction, as we say in the sports world. Give me your bold prediction of what the future looks like in the next 3 years for those who just refuse to get with this paradigm shift, because you can do it two ways. You will always have somebody who will stay with the status quo. We know that. But then you get this whole other cluster of folks who are like, we're not going to participate and be here for 5 years and not be satisfied. Lucky if you get us for 2.
Yes, I mean, it's there will always be people who are willing to submit to being controlled, and that's how they feel comfortable, because they feel safe that way. My ex-husband was that way. He wanted you to give him a list and give him directions, because he didn't have to make any decisions. He just had to work with the list. That was it. But every paradigm shift, and I'll use Amazon as an example. Amazon has been around for decades, but literally, and I was a subscriber years ago, only because my brother talked me into it. And I didn't use it for anything, but recognize what it has become. But look at the time that it took for actually, now you can count all those people that refused to trust what Amazon was, or to trust what Amazon was doing. Those people in 2020, they were praising the availability of Amazon because they could get their stuff. Yeah. So, it really can take a long time for the general population to come on board with the paradigm shift. But if anything, cars, radio, TV, anything, social media is a big one, literally, that we've all learned to, not all of us, but probably the majority of people have learned to embrace and or ignore.
Yes.
Some may rail against it, but that's okay too. Again, all those things are fear driven. So for those of us who are kind of in this arena, this arena isn't limited to those of us who are entrepreneurs. We're just leveraging what our experience and our skills and our expertise are in a more singular kind of way. But this isn't the only way.
Yes. Okay. You had the perfect segue there because I wrote this down, and I think about myself and my journey, and I thought about what you just said. I remember coming from a photography trip and driving to drop off my film, because I did half on film, half digital. And I said to myself, I cannot wait until this becomes my everyday life, just working in photography. But I wasn't motivated by fear. Can we talk about, this is just your opinion, stepping out into joy, right? Because fear is used in so many places all over our society. You know, I was watching last night, Life Alert. Is it Life Alert? Like, help, I fallen, I can't get up. You know, it's like everything is the fear of. The fear of no one's there to help you get out of the tub. No one's there to help you when you fall in the woods and nobody here. It's like everything is fear-based. Missing out on your kid's first step because you're washing dishes. You know, you could just not wash the dishes until later. I'm just saying.
Yes.
Everything is fear-based. Can we talk about, before we get into how our story can serve others, stepping out into the joy of something versus the fear of something?
Well, I think stepping out into the joy is stepping out of the fear. So remember that. You know, it is literally almost a threshold that you cross. I believe, and I think you and I have probably talked about this before, I believe in the two things. There are literally only two things. You're either going to breathe life into the fear, or you're going to breathe life into the joy. You can't do both. It's got to be one or the other. You're going to breathe life into what you want, or you're going to breathe life into what you don't want. You're going to choose to empower yourself or disempower yourself. It's only ever the two things. So you get to choose every moment that you get to make a choice. You're either going to choose fear or you're going to choose joy. And the joy is where everything that you want and desire actually lives. Nothing lives in the fear. So I often use this as an example. So say between where you are now and where you want to be, where you're experiencing the optimum joy, there's a path, almost a bridge. You can even look at it that. And there's debris in the way. Every single piece of debris that you see as an obstacle is produced by fear. Your only job is to clear that debris away. If you can look at them as boxes, rocks, whatever you want to, you know, but your responsibility only is to clear that away so that you have direct access to your joy. That's your only responsibility, is to clear away the fear, breathe life into what you want.
It's a very simple job.
It's simple, may not be easy, but definitely simple.
Yeah.
I love simple. I love simplicity.
Yes, because it really can be that easy. But that speaks to, and we hear it a lot of times, mindset, growth mindset versus scarcity. Right? There's a way that there's a way of viewing the world and viewing what's happening to you, that you can either say the glass is half empty or the glass is half full. And I know it sounds like we're dumbing it down, but when you think about it, it is that itty bitty choice. Like today, I would tell you guys right now, I woke up, this laptop did not want to talk to this camera, did not want to talk to the Ethernet. And I was like, look, people, today is not the damn day. This ain't it. Right? So we turned it off. We turned it back on. We breathe. I went and got my Topo Chico. I'm like, look, get it together, y'all. And here we are today. But it could have easily been, the gremlins are working against me.
Yes.
You know, things just don't work well for me. It could have easily gone that way. It's a choice to choose one of those two pathways.
Absolutely. And yet, when you look at the choices, those thoughts, the gremlins, are going to disempower you, right? The thought, okay, well, I'll work this out. it will work, or I'll find some other way to make it work. That's empowering. So really every choice you make literally can be brought down to those two things.
So here's this question, because everybody has a story. Everybody has a story. Literally every single one of us has gone through something. Some of us articulate it extremely well. Some of us struggle to wrap our arms. Like, we're all in different places in our journey. Every single one of us. I've shared my story a couple of times about how we have lost, and we have had again, but we have with a different mindset. Everybody has a story. How can we use our stories to serve others, be it clients, community, friends, the world? I'll let you take over.
I think it's really the lessons from the stories, from our experiences, that we can leverage to help serve others. It's maybe not so much, stories are relatable. So absolutely, that's a great way to couch the lesson. As long as we're not living in the story for a long time. I was the single mother. For a long time, I was the single mother who had her house burned down. For a long, you know what I mean? And it was hard not to continue to identify with the story as opposed to the lesson that was contained in the story. And that's what I've learned myself, is to remove myself from the story, not have the story continue to mean something, but it's what I learned from the story, from the experience, literally itself. And that took me a while to be able to actually kind of wrestle that one with myself, because I think one of the biggest things that we can do when we're still living in our stories is to feel like if we don't continue to do that, that it invalidates our experience. Right. And, that's not actually what happens, but that's the fear. That this happened to me, and it was a valid whatever it was, victimization or whatever it was, but it's really, we have to be able to move out of that and into the lesson and moving forward with the lesson and bringing the lesson to others, because that's what we really look to each other for. Yeah.
It's so, I was just writing down some future topics, because you know how podcasters are. And that was one of them, is that at what point do you stop? It's going to sound awful, but using some of your experiences as a crutch. I know that sounds awful. I know it sounds awful.
But it's true, though.
But it's true.
It's true.
Yes. At some point, you got to say,
right,
this is now my decision that I am making, that I'm consciously making. This is no longer just, well, this happened or this happened. It's like, well, at what point does it stop happening? And do we start taking, hold ourselves accountable for what we're doing right here, right now?
We can breathe life into the past as opposed to breathing life into our future. It's really not even into the past, it's into our connection and what we're making the past mean. So we can, if we keep focus behind us, there's no way for us to see anything in front of us. So, I have learned over the years that we give meaning to everything in our lives, and we're taught to do that. So how can we kind of waylay that, focus in the present, and look toward what we want as opposed to look behind us? We can feel like we're dishonoring it, or I'm supposed to hold on to this thing that was my great grandmother's because it's part of the family and blah, blah. You know what I mean? We can have those, and those are attachments that are kind of created for us. So, which is absolutely true. And a lot of that can take a lot of untangling for people, because they then feel guilty that they, they don't want to hold around this big thing that was great grandmother's anymore, but they feel guilty getting rid of it. So again, the expiration goes back to the expiration dates.
There is some expiration date, and I do want to make sure we make we shout out this comment. We were talking about mindset, like you either take what's in front of you or you find a way to make things happen.
Yes,
right?
yes.
It really is.
Action is always the answer. Action is always the answer. You're either going to go towards what you want, or you're going to try to continue to take action that keeps you where you are.
Yeah. And it's I can't remember where I saw it. It was a meme, and there was a 3D rendering of a pool of water, a puddle of water, and there was a dog that was afraid to step into it. Right. And it really talked about how sometimes what we're seeing really isn't even there, but it holds us back. Right. So it's like really stop and say, like, what's really happening here? Is this really the way I see it, or is it just an illusion?
It all is. Fear is always an illusion. It's something we've created for ourselves because we're afraid.
Oh my goodness. There is so much, as you say, we can go to 5,000 places. And I do know that with the current state of how things are, there was a dear friend who mentioned, when she was laid off in 2020, it worked in her favor. And a lot of times I find situations do pushes. I know I was dragging my arse, going from full-time to doing my photography business full-time. I was dragging the arse, right? I was like, and then I felt like the good Lord said, you know what? I'm going to help you out real quick. I'm going to help you out. I'm going to help you make a decision about what needs to be done. And I'm just going to be here to catch you. So I want you to go ahead and jump because I got you. And I was like, okay, because this is what we're doing today. Yes. And that's where trust comes in too. Yeah. Definitely where trust comes in. And I know that this question is not here, but I want to add it in as we tie all this up together and talk about how we can connect with you. Community, a partner that is supportive. Where is that in the mix? If you have any advice or thoughts about having community, supportive partner, people that you can talk to. Because when I failed, the first time I failed, since the fail, and I fell hard. I fell as in like I'm homeless falling.
Yes.
So my community, my family picked me up and literally kept me. So where does that come into this dynamic?
Well, I think, at least in my case and from my own experience, trust was a huge part of that, but I had to regain self-trust, because when you choose against yourself so many times, you lose trust with yourself. So how do you then rebuild that? There's no way you're trusting other people unless it might be, I know I ended up so isolated because I just finally didn't trust anybody or myself. So I didn't. So that's really kind of the first place you need to go, is to rebuild trust. And you can only do that so long with yourself. And it's got to then come down to other people. So that's when I started reaching out kind of quietly and mindfully to connect with women in particular like yourself, that I felt, a level of safety with. So that took me some time to rebuild that. And with a partner in particular, I did a lot of work myself. And I'll give you the same example of that path. My husband, I am remarried recently in November. And after 20 years of being single, and the very first thing I said to him on our first date, I said, I want you to be yourself, and I'm going to be myself 100%, because there's no way we can know if we like each other if it's from something that's not real. How can you make any kind of decision or choice based on an illusion? You can't. So that's what we do. And we don't take on the fear. We don't take on the any obstacles, anything that goes awry. We just find another way around. We're just like, okay, well, you know, we can figure it out some other way. So we don't bite back into our own trauma or our own past fear or lack of trust. So that's really, it takes you building it with yourself first, piece by piece. And then you can't help but draw to you those that you can trust.
That's the perfect way to wrap this all up. I love it. So, Kathryn, for those who would like to connect with you, learn more about what you offer, how can we do that?
LinkedIn is my home, and LinkedIn is the best place for you to connect with me, to absorb any of my content. I invite you to, I have a public group and I have a private group that you can join. The links are there on my meetup in the featured section. So yeah, literally that is the place for you to go to learn all about me, what I do, and where I've been.
Sweet. And there are so many more conversations we can have about self-trust.
Yes.
Right? Because once you make a decision and it didn't work in your favor, you start feeling some kind of way. But I know we don't even have the time today to do it. That just means you got to come back and do something else. That's all that means.
Always happy to chat with you, Gwendolyn. We get into the
that
good.
Is all that sense to me. It's like, that sounds like a plot too. Oh my goodness. Okay. So as we're Mother says good topic. Yeah.
Oh, thanks, Mom.
I'm telling you, man, we are all going through a different an evolution. Everybody, well, I'd say hopefully we're all going through some sort of evolution. That's the hope. And so my mission, as I invite great, amazing, astounding people to this stage, is that you are able to take something with you that can help you in your current evolution of where you are right now, or leave like a different perspective of seeing how you're operating in your career, in your space, your desires, all the things. And I will say this because I have to, of course, do my own little shout out. We got a newsletter where we talk about all the podcasts. You can go to 𝐁𝐿-𝐸-𝐺𝐻.com, sign up for our newsletter, because a girl likes to talk all the time now. As my mama was telling me just the other day, she was like, Gwendolyn, when are you not talking? I said, Mother, I don't know. I can't tell you when I'm not talking to somebody about something somewhere. Can't tell you, Ma. But Kathryn, thank you again for giving us this hour and sharing with us all the things. I have notes, y'all. I have notes. So obviously I will be sharing these notes very soon, as I always do, because this right here is gold. I got gold nuggets right here. So I'll be sharing that very soon. We want to thank Kathryn for giving us this hour. I want to thank all of you who are watching live, either on Facebook or LinkedIn or YouTube. And for those of you who will be watching on the replay, thank you as well. And enjoy your day.
Thank you for watching another episode of Small Biz Bites with Gwendolyn 𝐸-𝐸-𝐺𝐠, where we chat with other creatives and small business owners about their journey. And we also invite you to like, share, and subscribe to the 𝐁𝐿-𝐸-𝐸-𝐺𝐠 YouTube channel, where you can get the latest and greatest.